I mean, he's just. I was like, I don't know. I have enough projects going on between the hardtop, the convertible. I got a guy that was trying to talk me into making the parts car into a bracket car, and I'm like, man, I don't have time to build all this stuff right now, let alone the funds with this, thriving, Biden economy.
Now let's be nice.
No, it's not my contract.
That was being
not
nice.
my contract. I speak military, trucker, construction hand, small businessman, farmer, whatever you want to call it. I speak it all. I don't have time for it.
All right.
But no, no, like I said, I just and there's some personal stuff going on. I'm trying to sell my RV. Everybody's like, well, is it this? Is it that? And it's like I sent the guy was busting my chops for like an hour and a half, asking me this, asking me that, asking me that. So I sent him a link, and he goes, well, what's that? I said, just check it out. I sent him the link to Winnebago for a brand new 37-foot diesel pusher that starts at $457,000. There you go. You want a perfect one? We'll buy you a brand new one.
Right.
Yeah.
You want one with 70,000 miles that I've spent 20,000 on in the last 2 years redoing the air conditioner, the shocks, airbags, everything. This RV, you can get in it, hit the key, and drive it anywhere. And everybody's busting my chops about, well, what about this? What about that? Dude, you want a brand new one? Go to Winnebago or pick one. You want a brand new one. So.
Yeah. I hate selling stuff online because you can put stuff in the description and they'll call and ask you the same stuff that's in the description.
Yeah.
Drives me crazy.
Yeah. I thought about you.
They can't read.
Well, they don't read. That's the problem. It's not that they can't read. They don't read.
They don't. That's right.
Because I in fact, before I realized it was before I realized you guys were on, I was flipping through some stuff, and guy's got a 88 Bluebird school bus. He's trying to sell it for $12,000. I'm like, dude, that's a little high for and I mean, it's a straight school bus. It's dirty from sitting.
88.
Good things going. And I was like, man, that's big money. $12,000 for something that's that old.
Yeah, you can get a 06 for cheaper.
Yeah, and again, I was flipping through.
Probably trying to ride the wave of the trend of now guys doing, what you're doing, Lewis, and he figures now he's going to cash in.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple websites after you started doing schooling, husband and wife teams doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. We bought this and we're filming everything and 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 I work on my Merc, and I'm like, I keep thinking what you told me, Ray, I should videotape this, and I'm like, man, I don't have to. Nobody wants to see this old.
Oh yeah, they do.
Working on this car.
It's just
they do.
It's not an easy thing to do, especially alone. It's not.
Yeah.
Well, that's why
what you do is just set up cameras all over the place and let them run.
Yeah. Then you got to edit. Then you edit.
A lot of editing.
It takes you 4 times as long to edit than it does to shoot.
Yeah, like Arco, he don't do too much editing. He just he does a little bit, or not him, but he does a little bit and he puts it out. You don't have to go crazy on it. You know what I mean?
Well,
people want to see it.
If you go back, a couple weeks back, I was looking at that stuff. I had run across that Dylan McCool, and like I said, a lot of his earlier videos were the same thing. They just like time lapse, had a tripod and a camera, and they did the time lapse, and he would just speed the film up to run through them. Where it takes him 5 minutes of airtime to show him 30 minutes of out there pressure washing this old Dodge. It's like there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
So,
but the key is film. Even if you never use it, but you'll have it. You know.
Yeah, I was about to say it's one of those that if you've got the material, you can go through it and edit it in and work with it. But if you've got like 10 minutes of guys standing around throwing wrenches and cussing,
yeah,
that's all you got.
Yep. Yeah, I'm getting to the fun part on the bus. I'm starting to build stuff for inside, so now it's getting fun.
Yeah, when you turn the corner and start adding instead of tearing it apart and cutting out everything, and that's when it gets fun. I'm about there with my car. I've got 1 or 2 more things left to do. and then I'll start putting that AJE front in under mine, and then I keep trying to reach out to what's his name? Derek Bieri. He's got that when he bought that 171 Chevelle, that light blue one, it had those Super Sport Kragers on it. I'm like, you need to sell me those wheels because that's the exact wheels I need for my 66.
Well, he's supposed to come on the show as soon as he gets loose a little bit. So we'll put you in touch.
Yeah, like I said, being a 66, that was the that was the wheel back in the late 60s, early 70s. I remember them. And then the whole stink about that was Shirley Muldowney's crew chief was taking them apart and taking the screws out and putting aluminum screws in them, and then they were coming apart at speed, and then they blamed Krager.
Yeah.
God is my witness. They sued Krager because they were taking the wheels apart and monkeying with the screws, and they were coming apart. And they sued Krager. Krager goes, okay, fine, we're done. Nope, we don't make them anymore.
Oh, wow.
Shirley Muldowney was the reason that they don't make the Super Tricks anymore.
Super Tricks. That was the wheel, man.
They were stupid lightweight. I mean, they were like, it was in the 70s, they were spun aluminum, bolted together, bead of silicone and balance them. So, Ray, when are you going to be heading down here? I got these wheels out here. It's got your name on them, and I got, probably a big bag of grits and some other stuff.
Yeah, problem is, when I keep going down, I'm going west of you.
Hey, you got any aluminum semi wheels?
What are you looking for?
22.5.
What do you want? You want the ones with the Peterbilt ovals or the Freightliner the little shape for the Freightliner?
Oh, it don't matter. All of them look good compared to my school bus with the one on each side.
Well, it's so what do you want? 6 aluminum, 22.5?
Yeah.
22. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they're what is it? Standard 33 millimeter, just a standard hub, standard pilot hub.
I don't know.
What year is it?
03.
Yeah, it should be a standard pilot hub with a 33 millimeter on it.
I used to be able to find them all over the place, man. They're hard to come by now.
Well, it just so happens there was a salvage yard 4 or 5 miles down the road from me. The guy that had it forever sold out, and then a guy come in there and crushed everything.
Oh, wow.
And then now it's a big truck salvage yard, because I went in there and I bought a door latch or a claw latch from my International the other day, and he's got just rows and rows and stacks of aluminum wheels.
Oh yeah.
Because I was trying to find, if you remember when they introduced the T2000 back around 2000, 2001, they had a very distinct wheel that was only on a T2000 Kenworths.
Mm-hmm.
And my Freightliner has got one of them on it, and I want to match the pair for the front, because that truck's got steels on the back and aluminums on the front. And he had, like I said, he had a bunch of the Freightliner cutouts, the Peterbilts, the straight Alcoa, the holes, the big holes, the little holes. Because the earlier wheels had the smaller holes on them, and then the later models they bumped up the size of the holes in the hub or in the wheel itself.
Yeah.
So, and the only other problem that will be when on that stuff that used to lay around forever, but when the market turns a little bit and all that scrap metal stuff goes up, they all go take that stuff and crush it and sell it.
Yeah, just
in a heartbeat.
That's what we're dealing with up here. We can't find them. I used to, 2000, 2005, I could find them anywhere. I had them on all my trucks. And now it's like a ghost.
But when the market's strong, they'll sit on them. That's when you can find stuff. But I got a couple scrap guys, because I got 2 pallets on the side of the house of scrap metal or scrapped aluminum and metal. And I told the guy to come by and get it. And he said, right now is not the time to do it, because he's like, I'm already sitting on enough stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, I said, I really don't even care about the money. I said, just come get the stuff, because I need the space. The space is worth more to me right now. I've got 8 or 9 Audi transmissions and a couple Quattro rears and, all kinds of stuff sitting out here that I've been sitting on. And I just told him, I said, just come get it because I need the space more than the money.
Yeah.
I'd love to have the money, but don't get me wrong, but the space is worth way more.
About 15 years ago or more, I was looking for wheels for my Fiat, and a guy who calls the show worked at a junkyard. He says to me, listen, my buddy had a Fiat, and he's got 4 wheels. They're aluminum slots. I was like, okay, I was looking for the Daisy wheel, but I said, the aluminum slots are cool. And we went back and forth. How much did you want from him? Well, you should come look at him. I'm like, yeah, I'll come look at him, but give me a ballpark. I don't know if I'm wasting my time or his time. He couldn't come up with a number, but he finally said to me, I'll tell you what. He says, he'll look it up, and whatever he can get, whatever the scrap value is, he'll give them to you for the scrap value, because if you don't buy them, that's what he's going to do with them. And at that time, it was about, I forget what it was, a pound, but it ended up being about $15 a wheel. So for $60, I got 4 13-inch aluminum slots, and they're in the garage now, and I want to sell them.
The funny part is you can't even find 13 tires. I mean, that's
gotta order them.
Well,
and hope they come in.
I have a set of the stock rims, the stock steel rims with 13-inch tires in the other garage. And I found a set of Maserati bi-turbo rims, which were like super light. They're magnesium, and they're 14. So I was able to upgrade the tire size. So that's why I never used the slots.
Yeah, my car, like I said, my car originally had, I think, like a G78 on it. And it's like, you say that now and they're like, huh? And then you
know. They don't know what
14, and there's another, huh?
I'll tell you though, Vince, it's kind of funny. Every once in a while, I come up against, I find a Cyclone like I did last week at the cruise night.
That yellow six, that's the same. That's the way the 2-door is supposed to be painted. When I saw the paper, black top, yellow. That was a '67. That's got what they call a tombstone taillights in it, where they're,
right.
Where mine are horizontal.
They're around. At least up here they are.
What's that?
I said they're around. At least up here, I've seen a couple of them over the years.
Yeah, you run across them. I mean, there's a guy outside of Charlotte. I think it's Hickory. He's got 3 of them, and he's wanting like a basket, like a package price. It's like, come get all 3 of the cars. A couple K. I need to get them out of the way. And I'm like, well, that's how I ended up with my convertible up there in Ronkonkoma. That Tori was nice enough to go get for me and and have brought down. Is the guy just had it in queue to do it. He goes, I'm just not going to get to it, and I don't want to crush it. But if I think I gave the guy $400 for the car with a title.
That's
complete car. Didn't have the running gear in it, but a convertible, Cyclone with papers, $400.
Yeah.
So, like I said, if I had land, that'd be dangerous because I would be selling Cyclone parts because I'd be buying them just like that and putting them out there and parting them out. I know a guy up in Massachusetts quit his job as an Audi mechanic, and that's what he does now. Is he does purely buys and sells Volkswagen and Audi parts. He buys the cars, posts online. I got a good this, and that's all he does is strip cars out.
Can you get Brian a gas tank?
Says he's making more money than he ever made at the Audi dealership. And I was like, well, you must not have been that good of a mechanic. That was my response.
Vince, I'm looking up on those Krager wheels, man. Those are pricey, some wheels, man, on eBay.
The Super Tricks?
Yeah.
Well, the reason that I was talking, and I've even emailed the Vice Grip Garage email and sent to him. It's because of the offset that he has. He's got like a 10 or 12 inch wheel with a straight up 6-inch offset, and that's the wheel I need for my car. I can find a 10-inch with a 4-inch offset or a 6-inch offset. I can find them, but the offset's nowhere close to what I've got, even with the relocated spring hangers. The wheels he's got will work without me having to having to cut up anything. So
but, they got. They got 15 by 3.5 smallies on here,
the pie cutters.
Yeah, pie cutters here for $800. I mean, you know, it's like crazy money for.
Yeah, there was a guy, and I can't remember if he was in Florida or Ohio that I had reached out to that had a pair of 8s, and he just wanted stupid. I mean, I sent him a question, and I asked him a basic question about backspacing or something, and he sent me back this scathing letter. Oh, you don't know what you're doing, and you know what you're blah blah blah. No, dude, chill out. I asked you one simple question that if you had a brain, you could walk out there and get me the measurement on it. But no, you know, you and the horse you rode in on. Dude, I wasn't trying to start a fight. I asked you a question that would make them where I could use them or not, because the picture in your description is very lacking.
Yeah, they had some 15 by 12s in here, and a pair of them. They want $1,200. I mean, $1,200. I mean, it's like crazy money for. That's insane.
So Vince, what about a nice Magnum 500?
I've seen that. I know where there's a set of. Well, you know, it's strange. I love the Magnum 500 wheels. I mean, especially the Mustangs and certain cars like that. They look perfect. They look great on. Actually, a early 70s, like a Maverick, 71, 72 Maverick, lowered on a set of Magnum 500s looks mean.
Yeah.
But it's just, I've got to look for this car up here, and actually push come to shove. The reason I was also kicking around, you know, I've got that 69 Chevelle that I drove in high school that I'll have back eventually. He pulled him off a 71 A body. I know the bolt right back on that 69 A body. So, but yeah, no, I like to look at that kind of that not pro street, but that race bracket car look. And I mean, they'll tell you that you're not supposed to drive those on the street because they are super. You know, if you've ever picked up a super trick, they don't weigh anything. I mean, they're basically spun discs bolted together. You know, like the old center lines. Same, you know, the auto drag center line, same thing. 2 pieces of spun aluminum bolted together. Bead of silicone around the joint, and there you go.
Yeah, that's like the old. What were those wheels? The BBSs. I've got a set of BBSs, and it was funny. It was on a 911. I'm sorry, a 944. It was a customer of mine, and he had sold the car, and the guy did not want the BBSs. He wanted the original wheels that came on the factory wheels. And I had mentioned to him once before that, you know, I really like those BBSs because it was. Dish, they were, you know, brushed aluminum, and they had white centers. You know, a lot of them were painted gold, but this had the white centers. And I told him I'd like them. And so one day I'm at work, and, you know, he came to the back of the shop, and he was like, "Hey, Brian, I know you said you really like these BBSs, and I sold the 44, and I don't know what to do with the wheels. Do you want them?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, how much do you want for them?" He goes, No, you can just have them.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, "Yeah, all right, no problem."
Okay.
I said, "Okay, yeah, twist my arm, you know."
Okay.
And so he goes, yeah. I said, "Well, just bring them by." He goes, "Oh, I got them in the trunk." And I'm like, "You got them in the trunk? Okay." Well, he had taken them all apart.
Oh.
So, you know, he took them all apart, and they, you know, they were like in a box like this. You know, they were all stacked up, and
bunch of discs.
Yeah, the discs, the rings, and the bolts. And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." I said, "Well, at least did you mark them?" I mean, you know, no, does it matter? Oh no, it's okay, buddy.
You'll never get it balanced.
Nope.
So I still have them in the box, and I'm like, if I ever, I mean, you know, I've talked a couple places, they'll put them together and spin them, you know, and get them balanced, put out. But they were like, he didn't mark them, you know, he didn't even at least put the, you know, and I'm like, nah, he just took them all apart, threw the nuts and bolts in the box, and you know, with the centers. So
what would make you think to take them apart?
Well, he didn't have the space. I mean, he had the wheels stacked up, and then he realized that they had bolts in the center, or around the end. So he took the bolts out and took it all apart, and then it was able to stack them. And they sat around a couple weeks, and he finally said, "I just got to get rid of them." So he brought them to me, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I can't believe he took these things apart." This is what I was talking about. Doing something modified to your car, and you think it's, oh, I saw this on TV, so it should be really easy. You know what I'm saying? And you end up spending, throwing the wrenches around, like Vince said, throwing the wrenches around, and then next thing you know, you're just putting the old part back on and saying F it. So,
Brian, the lack of common sense that I've seen over 30 plus years of dicking with cars is mind-numbing sometimes. It's like, why did you take this all apart when all you had to do was like take that bolt off and that bolt off, and it all comes off, and you made 10 times more work for yourself had you just not looked at it and went, oh, spindle, okay, nut, bolt, tire, okay, instead no nut, bolt,
Oh, I know.
bearings, seals, pieces, rotors. It's like, oh my God, you could have taken it all off in 2 bolts and had it as an assembly. It just, I don't know if it's people, they don't look at things the same way that, I do, or a mechanically inclined person does. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I see it a lot in the shops, and they're supposed to be the experts. So, I mean, I see a lot of things.
The thing that got me, and Ray can probably attest to this, is when the stigma of being a mechanic got to be, a bad word. They're not mechanics now. They're technicians. It's like,
that's fairly recent.
That's fine, but I'll take a backwoods mechanic with common sense any day of the week over a technician that's got a wall full of charts and ASC certifications.
Right.
Call me crazy, but I mean, when I had my ASC certifications, it was like, okay, mail it, fill out this little form and mail it in. And then, if you answered all the questions right, they'd send you back your little patch and your little certificate you hang on the wall. That was when I had my 5 ASC.
Yeah.
And, people would go, ASC, what is that? Now they're like, must be ASC certified, must be this, must be that, and we won't talk to you. And I'm like, again, I don't know.
Well, that goes back. I mean, unfortunately, it's because you have a person in charge that was never a mechanic or doesn't have no idea, and they figure, oh, if the guy has ASC, he must know something. And that doesn't really mean anything. And I see that with, I know a lot of guys that are not certified that way that are really good mechanics or technicians, whatever. But a guy that knows something, supposedly knows something because he's had that patch on his arm. He doesn't even know how to use a screwdriver. So,
Brian, I saw some of that when I worked for Ford, because half of our shop didn't have a single ASC certification, but they had been Ford factory trained. Yeah. And so as long as they wanted to stay in brand, and I knew guys that worked for the Chevrolet dealership were the same way. They went to the Chevrolet training and all that, and they said, as long as we stay brand loyal, we're good. Like the one guy was actually from Tennessee or from Kentucky and was down in Savannah working. And he's like, I went to all the, he goes, I went to the local Chevy dealer there in Paducah, Kentucky, where he was from. The guy liked him, sent him to all the GM schools and all that. So he had the full resume of GM training. And he goes, I can go to any General Motors, Chevrolet, whatever, because I've got the GM training. He goes, ASC? Nah. He goes, I got the GM. And like I said, half the guys at the Ford dealership were the same way. They had all went through all the Ford training, Ford schools and stuff. And
we went through that with the, on the Porsche, because they didn't care, or it's not they didn't care. It's just that as long as you were factory trained, and we went through, and then, like I said, it was sometime by the late 90s, the ASC thing started becoming a more important or whatever, because I remember when the district rep from Porsche came in and said, hey, you guys got to have ASC now with your Porsche, so and that was same. And next thing you know, BMW started in, and Audi started in, and that was, like I said, late '90s when we had to have that because they were starting to advertise it as being professional, I guess, or whatever.
There was one other shop when I worked with Napa. And yeah, I'm one of those monkeys who's had 100 jobs because I've always done whatever I had to do to make a living. When I worked with Napa, there was a guy that was behind our store, and he primarily did German and Italian imports. And he had a guy that was working for him who was factory trained on Lamborghini, Ferrari, Porsche. I don't remember what was it, because he was like one of the only certified Lamborghini mechanics in like the tri-state area at the time. And he's like, ASC? He goes, what the hell is that? He goes, and he pulls out his little certificate, written in Italian from Lamborghini. He goes, I went to he goes, I was there to the factory and passed their training to work on Lamborghinis and that, and that was when I learned to change an oil in a Porsche. It was quart of
This is all the factory training stuff.
We
had a little passport with the training courses in
it. He'd walk in there and go, I need a case of oil, and I'm like, what are you doing? Okay, he goes, I'm changing oil on a 911. I was like, 911 takes a case of oil? That's not fun. But again, and that guy basically closed his shop, and last I heard, he's basically handling a plastic surgeon's fleet of vintage Ferraris and Porsches, and that's all he does. He keeps the cars in running order. So if Doc goes, I want this car in Road Atlanta or this car in 10-4.
Well, speaking of that, Vince, I got to say, I have a receipt from my friend's shop today. I actually paid $120 for a case of oil today.
Wow.
And that's a discount. I get the shop rate.
Wow.
What type of oil was it, Ray?
It's Golden Spectro 5W40 synthetic with high ZDP.
Yeah.
I'm looking down here. I've had a couple guys, because like I said, that this 466 has got a hydraulic flat tappet in it that was done. It was built in the early 80s. I mean, this cam was cut in the early 80s, and it was the backup cam for another one. And I'm looking for if you remember when Kindle was green.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what oil you get now.
Brad Penn, that's the name of it.
That's it, Brad Penn, because that's what I was using. That Kendall oil, and it's still green.
Yeah, that's what the one guy said. He goes, do you remember? And I said, I remember the green Kindle motor oil. I said, because I used to run the 2050 in all my cars. And he goes, Brad Penn basically is that. Because Kindle now it's all just like the regular stuff, but he goes, the old school, like the green Kindle, is now Brad Penn.
There's more out there now than there was a few years ago. You got Brad Penn, you got
VR1.
Valvoline actually has a
VR1. Valvoline is what I can find around here.
VR oil, yeah, VR1.
But it's that racing. It's VR1 racing,
right?
High zinc, ZDP, and all that stuff.
I think Joe Gibbs has one on the market.
Yeah, Joe Gibbs has got a really good one.
Get that
that's what we use. We use all the Joe Gibbs stuff.
I forget which site it is, but somebody has their hot rod. It's like
Amsoil.
a Haggerty or
Amsoil's got a hot rod. It's supposed to be a high ZDP.
Yeah, it may be Haggerty that has their own brand of oil. They branded it with their name. So there's a few of them out there, but they're all about the same cost.
Yeah, we got into a discussion a while back where the guy said, "Oh, just put Rotella T in it," and I was like, "You don't want to do that."
I know,
because Rotella T4 does not have the zinc in it that it used to have.
So that's the thing now. Like I said, I forked out $120 for a case of oil. I was like, Jesus, man! If you would have told me a few years ago that I would spend this kind of money on oil, I'd tell you, there better be like a bag of Coke in the bottom. But,
extra kilo to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That was your liquid kilo there, Ray. Liquid gold, man.
No.
A tequila sunrise with a cherry on top.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I didn't mean to pop in here and just kind of like take over the show.
No, you good.
Like I said, I was doing something and I looked at my watch and I was like, holy crap, they're on tonight. And I got it all fired up here and actually have my office set up with I figured out how to get the camera working because I had it plugged in for a while and I couldn't get it to turn on. Well, it had put a little moniker on the desktop and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not looking there. I'm trying to do it the old school instead of just going to click.
Yeah. No, you're always welcome, bro.
Oh, I appreciate you sending me the link, Lewis. Like I said, I was sick as a damn dog last week. I twinged my damn back. I couldn't hardly move. So
yeah. You ever up around this way on loads?
Well, we're what's the place? They're talking about not Lima. That's where she went to school. You're up in Youngstown still, right?
Yeah, just east of Cleveland.
Yeah, they're talking about moving the race that the memorial race that we do in Owensboro again. It's back in Owensboro this year, and they're talking about the guy who's been doing it. He's like, I can't do this. He goes, I live in Missouri and setting up a race in Kentucky and all this. He goes, I can't do this anymore. We've done it for X number of years, so they're wanting to try to wrap our Kentucky race into a race that they do at some place, some 42 something. It's an all forward race, and I got to looking at the address that the guy had for the track, and it's north of Columbus.
Okay.
And I'm like, that's a damn haul for us. And like my partner in crime goes, he runs a rail, and he goes, the problem I see and why he doesn't travel more is a lot of these guys that put on these events, they'll have like box, no box, all they'll have all these car brackets and races for cars.
Yeah.
But yet when you get a rail, they're like, okay, well, there's 2 rails here. Well, what the hell did we drive 12 hours for to run 2 rails? And hell, we could have went an hour down the road and done test and tune instead of 11 hours to Ohio,
right,
from Georgia. And so I don't know. Like I said, there's talk of maybe doing a door car. Like I said, I have always kind of said that's what I'd like to do with that final car is make a bracket car out of it. But
very nice. Yeah, let me know if you're ever up this way.
I will. Like I said, I've got your contact. I was gonna. In fact, I was thinking of something last night. I was gonna shoot you a message today, but I got tied up with doing some stuff, and because it's you and I had talked about doing some stuff before, and it just life happened, and we ended up going 900 different directions.
Yeah, right.
So I had a couple of thoughts that I still want to do, and trying to figure out how to do it and not get sued and
that's the key.
Copyright laws and infringements and stuff.
Yeah, call me anytime, man.
Yeah, like I said, I'll definitely reach out to you again when I get a minute.
Okay.
But Ray, you sure you don't want to help with those kingpins?
I tell you, I will gladly help you.
I got the kit, the new kit. The Stemco kit's only $530 for the kit.
I'll be a great assistant. I'll be a great assistant to you because
you got the reamer.
This is a no ream kit. It's the Stemco.
Famous last words. Good luck. Good luck, Vince.
Brian, these are a new design where most people that are not around heavy equipment and all that don't realize that when you grease a kingpin front end, the proper way you grease it is to jack it up to take the weight off of the kingpin. Yeah. And all these shops that go chink, 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 chink. Well, yeah, you didn't grease the kingpin. You put a little grease on top of the pin and a bottom on the pin. Yeah. Unless you get underneath it and jack it up where you actually see the kingpin relax, then you can grease the entire pin. Yeah. These new design, have they've got spiral cuts in them, so that when you put them in, you can grease them, and it will grease the pin properly because it pushes it through the grooves in the pin. Yeah. And it's a hell of a design, and that's that stem coat has done that kit, and it's supposed to be a non-ream kit.
The only thing I can say to that is you said it's new, so Justin, tell them, what does new mean?
Never ever worked.
Thank you.
Well, remember this. When I say new, that means it was new technology from the 90s. So they've been around a little bit, but yeah, I get that of trying to put A with B and C with D and then mash them together, and none of them have ever played together. So that's one of the things I'm not looking forward to. But like I said, my car for those who don't know, it's a 66 Mercury Cyclone GT. It's an original 394 speed car. Got the 9-inch 325 gears with a posi in it factory. I've got a 500 horse aluminum headed C6 going in it with a C6 or 466 C6 transmission. It should be a nice little cruiser just to beat around, as we call them, a Dairy Queen car, just a scooter poop, maybe run around. And the problem with those cars, even with the 390, they run the front end designs of those years. They run a shock tower, and the shock towers are so tight on an FE, especially, you can barely put your hand between the head of the exhaust of the shock towers. Small block cars are not too bad, because I learned how to drive in a 66 Fairlane with a 3 on the tree, and a little small block there, there's room. It's tight, but there's room. The 460 is wider than the FE, and it's tight with an FE in there. So I got to calling around and looking at a bunch of other different same body mid-size Fords and Mercurys of that vintage. Hooked up with a guy, Anthony, with AJE suspensions, ex-racer, or actually they still race, but they developed this kit for like a K member. And he says, you basically pull the stock stuff out. You strip your frame horns down, and then you gauge your measurements from the holes. Because initially I was going to do the Shelby drop, because that's another way with Shelby figured out you could play with the suspension on those cars and make them halfway handle. So I was going to do the Shelby drop, and he's like, no. And then doing this AJE kit, it converts it to a K member, basically, where once you you drill your few holes and set it up, he goes, once you put this K member in, he goes, you can put a Godzilla motor in it, an FE, a 460 or 385. He goes, any of them will drop right in. And so I don't know that a buddy of mine has one of those Godzilla motors in a pickup truck, and that thing will fly. And you're talking about a crew cab, 8-foot bed, 1 ton, and this thing smokes down the road. 10-speed transmission, 7-liter, push rod V8. After they said, "Oh, the years of the push rod motor are, they're gone, they're dinosaurs." Well, why are they still working on them?
Yeah, that's the hot one right now is the Godzilla.
Yeah. Or he said Coyote too. He goes, if you want to do a Coyote, he goes, you could do a Coyote in there too, and that's the other reason I think some of the guys with the Fords are doing the LS, the litter scooper swaps instead of a Coyote, because the Coyote is wider. And it's funny. I sent something to Terry, and he hasn't responded back to me. So I don't know if he hasn't seen it or he just doesn't like it when I refer to the LS as a litter scooper. But it is.
Nah, he's a good.
Lewis, he's from King Street. He's from King Street, South Carolina, 60 miles down the road, where I was at 3 times this week.
Yeah.
That's where because in one of the interviews, or she was talking to somebody, he said, it might have been on here. He said where he was from, King Street, South Carolina. And like I said, I was there Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Yeah.
And
he used to go down there every summer and hang out with his uncles.
Yep. But there's like I said, I was down there, and I was gonna send him a shirt. I saw the other day that it's got a picture of the Godzilla motor on it. It says like an LS, and then underneath it says "but for men."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those things are pretty cool. I can't wait to get my hands on one.
Well, there's
One of them Godzillas.
Well, my buddy in Louisiana, he was telling me because he had a Mustang and it was an old bracket car. He was debating on putting it. No, one of Mustang was a Fairmont, and he was debating. He goes, you can buy a takeout package, Godzilla motor, 10-speed transmission, wiring harnesses, and everything for like $13,000. He goes, I know where there's 4 or 5 of them just sitting on the pallets, ready to go. And I'm like, man, I got enough projects in the wind right now. I don't need to add more stuff to any, but if you've seen some of the stuff that what's his name, his YouTube name, Cletus McFarlane they took that little notch back and put a Godzilla motor in it with a turbo and a Lenco and stuff in it, and they're like, this son of a gun flies. I went, well, yeah, no wonder it's play with a real car, but again, that's how these guys make all this money on YouTube and these videos. And there's an algorithm to it, views and subscribers, and you get X number of subscribers, and then if videos watched and time watched, and then they pay it.
It's a hustle.
Well, yeah, and the way they explained it to me is like you might get, say, 15-20 cents per view for a full view. Well, you look at, like, just to pick a name because I used it already, of Cletus McFarlane and his YouTube, and anytime he drops a video within 2 or 3 hours, he's got like 1 million views. A couple of days later, he's got 3.5 million people subscribed to his channel.
Mm-hmm.
So all he's got to do is just keep dumping videos, and if his loyal followers keep watching them, it's just sitting there ringing the register.
There's a lot of people doing it full time.
Well, there's one guy that I ran across up in Tennessee, Sleeper Dude. He does a lot of stuff like that. He's got a Fairmont. He's doing a big block Chevy with twin turbos on, and he was a body man. He goes, I quit $130,000 a year as a body man, and now I'm doing YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm. It's no joke.
If you do it right though.
Yep.
And that's what I was saying earlier. It's like nobody wants to see, and I remember, Ray, when I first got this car, you were telling me, I needed to video all of this stuff, doing it. And I'm like, man, because I was out there working on it the other day, and I was like, I could hear you in the background, Ray, going, you should be recording this. You should be filming this. And I'm like, damn, I don't have, all I got right now is my little phone. And I'm like,
well,
I don't think I have a time.
There's a guy I follow now. I follow this guy Wrenching with Kenny, and he does a video every day, and he uses his phone.
Yeah.
That's what all my stuff is.
Terry uses his phone. A lot of people do.
Well, then again, we all know this is a $1,400 computer with a phone app.
Yep. That's it.
But
hey guys, I gotta jump ship.
All right.
I'm getting old. I'm up past my bedtime.
Oh man.
You're not gonna turn into a pumpkin, are you?
Yeah, I might. Hey, speaking of pumpkins, I gotta show you some pictures next week, man. My wife grew some next to the garage.
Really?
Yeah, I got one on the fence, like the vine went up on the fence, and this thing's hanging on the fence. It's huge.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So hey, you guys have a safe week, and everybody, hopefully I'll see you next week.
Lewis, you'll blink and come back here again. Don't worry.
Lewis, I'll reach out to you within the next day or so. It ain't nothing crazy, but like I said, we had talked about it before, and I just want to get your input on something. So,
okay, sounds good.
Later.
All right, appreciate you guys.
Bye, Lewis.
All right.
See you, man.
I'm gonna cut the live off.
All right. We'll continue on from here.